Hi friends, Amy Astrab with Astra Stamping. Today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about Stampin' Up's adhesives and which one is my go-to. So probably my favorite is the liquid glue, and that is going to be this Tombox mono adhesive liquid glue. This is a glue that stays tacky even when it's dry, which is handy for a lot of reasons, and I'm going to show you some tips and some tricks and why I love it so much. Okay, so I have got a panel here that I am creating for a card front, and I am going to pull out my liquid glue, and I'm going to use it to adhere this beautiful little flower image that I have stamped, colored, and die cut. And I am using one of the tips of this mono adhesive glue. It has two tips, and I usually always use this fine tip. It's my go-to. It's what I use most of the time. Now you'll notice that this glue has gone on white. I'm just going to let that sit here for a few minutes, and as it dries, it's going to be clear. And while we're waiting for that to dry, I'm going to show you this glue. So it has a broad tip on one end. So you'll see if you need large amounts of glue and you want a nice edge to be able to smear that glue across a large object. But my go-to, honestly, is going to be this fine tip end. But you'll notice that there's no way to keep it standing this way. So the natural way to stand it is going to be like this, which keeps all the glue down towards that wide bottom of the bottle, and it's not handy when you're trying to use this tip. So I'm going to show you a little trick of mine for keeping it in the end. One of which is go over to the Dollar Tree, or maybe you even have one of these in your cabinet at home. It's a simple little, this is a dessert glass, a shot glass would work, and voila, you have got a nice little holder, convenient to keep that glue that way. Now, I saw another really handy little tip on YouTube the other day where a woman took the lid for her glue. She took her hot glue gun. Now, she used a little bit different of a cup than I'm using. She used one of those cups that you get condiments in at local restaurants, like with ketchup or salad dressing. And that's what she used, and she just put a generous amount of hot glue in the bottom of it. Now, mine happens to be a little larger. It is an applesauce cup. And she just stuck the tip of the glue right down into that hot glue to make a holder. Let's move back to this mono adhesive glue itself. You can see that some of it has already dried and turned clear. I'm going to show you. Look at that. It's tacky even where it's clear and dry. Now, why is that important, you say? Okay, let's say, for instance, you wanted to temporarily stick this down. You could absolutely do that by letting the glue dry before you stick it down. Case in point, I have made some of my own little stencils where I have used my die cuts to create these stencils, and I want to temporarily adhere them. So we're going to put just a tiny bit on there, and we're going to let that dry. Once it's dry, we're going to stick it on here, and I'll show you how to use blending brushes to add some color. Now, while we're letting this glue dry to a clear consistency on our stencil, I'm going to come back over here. Now we've got this almost completely dry, but look, it is going to stick down on our card front like so, and it's not going to come off. Now let's go back to our little stencil that we made. It is almost completely clear or opaque, So it is pretty good and dry. And so now I'm just going to stick it right on this panel. Our stencil will stay in place while we apply ink around our mask. Start off of our paper a little bit. And we're just going to make a beautiful, soft border around this stencil that fades out to the edge of the card. And look how well that's holding. Just with that tiny bit of glue. Now I'm not using a lot of pressure, but we got fascinating hold there. So now I can just carefully peel this up. There's a tiny bit of residue there, but you can either rub that away with your finger, or if you've got one of these handy little erasers, it will just roll right up and come right off. If it was a little drier, we probably would have no residue whatsoever. Now, like I said, this always stays tacky. So if you get too much glue on your card front and you can't erase it away, there is one other trick you can try. You can go in with your embossing buddy, just get a little bit of that powder on there, and it will take any tackiness away. So you've got your handy little glue holder. So you can make your own with an applesauce cup or condiment cup. You can find a little shot glass or dessert cup at your local dollar store. Now, if you didn't like either of those methods for storing your Tombow glue, I'm going to show you another. And we're going to use another one of our great adhesives to do this. I'm going to make a little box to hold my glue. And this, my friends, is called tear and tape. And it is a double-sided adhesive tape. And what I'm going to do, I've pre-cut and pre-scored this cute little box. And now I'm going to adhere it together with this tear and tape adhesive. You just stick it down and tear it whatever size you want it to be, that's where you're going to tear it at. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to stick this down. I'm going to tear off pieces. Now obviously you could cut this, but it's so handy when you don't have to stop and pick up scissors. You just tear it right off. Okay, so once I've got the tape on there, I'm going to just take a bone folder and I just want to burnish that down so I make sure it's good and stuck down before I try to peel that backing off. Okay, I've got that part done. I'm going to go ahead and just carefully start peeling away that backing and sticking these pieces in place where they go. So I'm going to add some tear and tape to this bottom piece that's going to go on the inside bottom of our glue holder. It's going to help keep the glue upright and stabilize the bottom of our box. Now I hope you're seeing how quick and convenient this tear and tape can be on these types of projects. I could use the glue, but the glue takes a bit to dry. And because I don't want to have to stand here holding the pieces together while they dry enough to stick together, the tear and tape is a great alternative. Okay, and there we have a nice little glue holder box ready to be decorated with whatever DSP you might want to decorate it with, and it's going to hold our glue up right. So if you'd like a tutorial on making one of these little glue box holders, or if you have any questions whatsoever about using our tear and tape or our mono adhesive glue, please contact me at @astrastamping@yahoo.com. And in the meantime, I hope you keep reaching for the stars.